driving, and if you can tell from that engine note, from this interior, possibly from this t-shirt which I'm wearing and is currently available on the Redbubble store, I am in the Rover 220 Coupe, the Tomcat, which is a car I've owned for many years but haven't seen on the channel for quite a long time. Reason being, it's been ignored under a cover at a friend's place, and you know what they say about the squeaky wheel getting the grease. This car hasn't squeaked in a long time, so I kind of ignored it while I was trying to fix other stuff, which is a shame because it's a car that needs to be driven. Anyway, I had a track day booked, and what better on my fleet than this thing with its gas coilovers, EBC brakes, the big Piper exhaust and the air filter. It's loud, loud and obnoxious. It's probably even happier on a track than a road, to be honest. So I booked it in, brought it home, and then the trouble started. Well, in fact, the trouble started before I even got home. Went to go and collect it, didn't take a camera because that's just shuffling cars. It wouldn't start. It was utterly stone dead. Even though I disconnected the battery when I parked it up, it did not want to do a thing. Had to do a really big, long jump start off the car I'd gone in. So it wasn't good. On the way home, after a run for about half an hour, 40 minutes, stopped for petrol, flat as a pancake again, had to bump start it on the forecourt. Embarrassing, I can tell you. So I brought it home, stuck it on charge overnight, thought okay, just lack of use. Maybe the earth lead had swung back under its own tension or whatever and made contact. But no, I don't think so. Anyway, so left it on charge overnight. Next day, started fine in the morning, took it for a drive. When I tried to come home again, dead. Had to bump start the car again. Not good, some more. So anyway, it's time to investigate this because one of three things has happened. Either the battery is dead again, which is bad because it was a warranty replacement, I think less than a year ago, but Halfords did say that that was the end of the cycle of warranty replacement, so I think I'd had my limit on that particular receipt. Or the alternator isn't charging enough. Well, it seems like it is because it's running well. Or I've got a massive parasitic power drain and it's killing the battery in a matter of minutes. I hope not, because that's going to be awkward to figure out. Let's go do some investigating. So I've just driven back into the drive after that short introduction video. Let's turn everything off, turn the key. Not a happy battery. So with the jump start pack connected, we can easily, or maybe not, maybe we can't even do that. Wow. See what happens when we've got some load on it. Dropped a bit, but that's the main beam light, so it's still holding up fairly well. So the alternator is good. That means it's either the battery or some kind of power drain. I charged it up for a full night and it was sitting at 13-ish, left it charged up and connected to the car for a day and a night, and it's now dropped down to 12.6 volts. I don't know if you can see that or not, 12.6. So, will that be enough to start it? It should be. But let's find out. The problem with this car is that the gear selector is so slack, you can't tell if it's in neutral or in gear or... Oh, it does start now. Well, this video just got weird. Okay. And now having started it and stopped it, it's now floating 12.5, 12.56 volts. One thing I do know about this car though is this connector here is super shonky and will not stay very connected. So I'm going to put a new connector on it that I can tighten up properly because this is a bit dodge. I'm also going to finally get around to putting on a permanent connector for the charger. Now I did go and buy this today for a whole £3.50 to replace this slightly bent up old no good thing. Oops. Then I remembered when I got home I had this in the garage, which is from many years ago, and then it adds a little element of security as well if I can get that bolt to fit through there. I'll also say I've not really used this LED under bonnet light very much since I've had it, but wow, that is so useful. It doesn't look that dark to the eye, but it's actually surprisingly dingy out here. Now this shonky old battery clamp has given me grief for so long, just sliding off like coming off the battery whilst I've been driving, pulling up, and then the thing has slid off the battery and it won't restart because there's no terminal anymore. So getting rid of this has been a long time coming. I'm surprised I put up with it so long. I'll be amazed if this battery is toast already, because I only changed it not so long ago. Oh, it's connected, that's irritating. I'll have to cut that off. Yeah, I only changed it, oh, it must be less than a year ago, I reckon. It was a return on a faulty one at Halfords, and they gave me a new one. So I don't think I can change it again because I've used up my returns already, if that makes sense. So let's hope it is just bad earth. And again. Now this will help with giving the car a better starting power, when more power gets through to the engine and the starter motor and everything, but it won't explain where the power has been dropping off to. And if it doesn't make a difference, it's one of those weird things. It probably won't, but weirdly it might, just because the world's a strange place. And I've not got a plaster on that huge cut from the Mercedes yesterday, and that really stings. Ow. This has been absolute rubbish for many years, so I don't feel at all bad about cutting it up. Except I can't. Only moderately sharp. Excellent. That's too gooey for contact cleaner. I want brake and clutch cleaner. That'll cleans anything. It's not going to do a lot to this, but if I just give a little sandpaper on the edge of that, that will just take the sharpest of the sharp edges off. And so by using or keeping the square box section of the old clamp, I can use the old square box section bolt, and that can hold on the bottom there, and all still work, hopefully. Of course it's not long enough. Right, I've been for a rummage in the back of the garage and found some of these. It's always good to have big bags and boxes of odds, and sometimes even sods, because that is now long enough to make that all work. Hurrah! So this permanent connection lead came with the charger. In fact, I've got several of these leads because I've got a couple of these chargers. I've got the three-way one, which is quite handy. It means I can leave this permanently connected and just hook it out through the grille whenever I need to give the car a bit of a boost. Nice and tight on that. Right, so in the hour that this has been disconnected, I say hour, half an hour I guess, that this has been disconnected, it's gone down to 12.4 something. It's dropped about 10% of a volt without the battery being disconnected. So what I'm going to do now is use this little security device to disconnect the battery and leave it a couple more hours and see if the battery is going down even when the car is not connected to it, if that makes sense. So that should now be breaking the circuit. So this I'll put here, don't lose it, and we'll see what the battery does in an hour's time. Join me again shortly. Okay, but don't call me shortly. I'm surprised how low that header tank's gone. I'll need to top up before I go anywhere. Now, while the Rover drains its battery somehow all on its own, we'll revert back to the Mini, where we'll look at the radio wiring. Now, it was very much a case of, now Pinky, are you pondering what I am pondering? Sure am, Brian, but where are we going to find chaps in our size at this time of night? A lot of people were suggesting that the yellow and the red on this dongle for Bluetooth were the wrong way around. That's why it's got the permanent live and the switch live mixed up, which is why it's permanently on even when the car's switched off, which over time will drain the battery quite a lot. And they were suggesting all I need to do is switch the yellow and the red wires. There's always a Spitfire photo bombing whenever I'm trying to do a little piece to camera. There's a second wire, a red and a black, which go to, let's make sure that yellow is going into another yellow, I guess. If the switch live is permanently live, then we've got ourselves a problem. Right, so that is wellied in there with the yellow cable. Let's find a bit of metal over here to earth that to. And what do you know, sure as eggs is eggs, we've got voltage permanently on the switched live, so that's why it's always on, which is a bad thing. In case you're wondering, that's now on the red permanent live. That is only active with the ignition. Turn the ignition off. Nothing, nada, zippity-doo-dah. Which means the red and the yellow are swapped over as we suspected. Well, quite a number of people in the comments did say that it's not uncommon for aftermarket stuff to mix up the switched and permanent live. That's a fairly common problem with Chinesium. And looking at the quality of these pins, this is quite definitely Chinesium of the finest order. So I've gone straight from proof of concept to small explosion. Let's plug this back in and see if we've now got switched and not permanently live power drains. Well, it's pretty much mostly hooked in there, apart from this one which has decided it's not going to go back in just yet. But anyway, meantime, the power is off. Where's my dongle? Dongle is not flashing, which means there's no power going to it, which means we turn the power on. Radio wakes up, hear the grindy noises, little blue flashy. Instantly I'm putting this cloth across here because I don't want to scratch the gear knob, which is lovely and chromy, with the radio while it's out. So I'm going to endeavour to put this back in here, and then hopefully it'll all work shortly, and then go back to finding out why the Rover Tomcat has got no power. It's tomorrow. I actually left this over 24 hours, which is more than 1 hour for those who are unsure about their numbers and maths. And what I found is that it's actually crept up a tiny fraction of a volt in the intervening time. It's accrued power somehow to the magnitude of 0.05 of a volt, which means there is potentially a power draw somewhere in there, which is bad. Now, those who are keenly observant of such things will have noticed the deliberate mistake I made yesterday when I connected this chargy dooha thingamajig in here. I put it on the wrong side of the power break, so if I try and charge this battery up with this disconnected, it's not going to charge. I should probably do something about that. And we'll of course give it the now traditional but fruitless try of the key. Oops, there goes the alarm. At least we know that works. Yeah, that's fruitless. Okay, ignore the mess. This is actually quite ingenious. What I've done is I've MacGyvered some cables together. So we've got the test meter here set to measure parasitic draw. We've got the battery disconnected, so all the power is now going through this crocodile clip to this crocodile clip, which is going to the test meter, to this wire here, to this crocodile clip, to this crocodile clip, which means that all the power feeding from the battery into the car is going through the test meter. And it just shows us we have got barely anything coming out of the battery. To illustrate this more properly, I will put the side light on and show you the difference. In fact, no, I'll give you the hazard lights, it looks better. So you can see as the hazard lights flash on and off, the power drain increases and decreases suddenly, up, down, up, down, up, down. So you can see that's 4 small light bulbs going on, gives you a total of 6 or 7. With that turned off, we are back down to a draw of 0.02, which I guess is just the immobiliser taking a little tiny bit of power, or the fact the car was running not so long ago, so some other systems are just doing something somewhere. So either way, that's nothing to worry about. So we haven't got a parasitic drain. We were showing almost 14 volts with the alternator running, which means that this car has killed yet another battery. Or maybe I've killed another battery. Either way, someone has killed another battery. One of us between. Incidentally, the power is now still holding steady at 12.5 volts. It seems to be kind of happy here. I'm guessing it's not got enough amps in it to push the starter over. So after half an hour or so's charge, it reckons it's back to 13 volts again, which should be healthy enough to start the car. Let's put a meter on it and test what it drops down to when we try and start it. So that fell straight down to 9 volts, and if it goes down to 9 volts when you crank it, that means she dead. That's no good. Time for another £100 spent on this car. Thanks, car. So, out with the old, in with the new. I was kind of reminded that it actually wasn't this car that got a new battery last year, it was that car that got a new 075 battery last year. So this battery is actually going to be a couple of years older than I was imagining. Anyway, I took it down to Halford's and they did their testy machine thingy on it, and this should have 550 cold cranking amps, which is quite a lot. Turned out it had 120 cold cranking amps, which is not a lot, which is why the car wouldn't start. Simple really. So why, I hear you ask, had I convinced myself it was more than just a flat battery? Well, I was sure I'd changed the battery in this car last summer, which means it's a year-old battery. It can't be dead already, but no, that was the Alpha. This is a much older battery than that, so that's why this was dead. And a few years ago, I think it's 2013, when I did the Le Mans Classic in this car, it was shorting out somewhere and draining its battery in under 4 minutes. So every time I stopped the car, I had to jump out, pull the earth off very quickly so I could start it again and not maybe catch fire to the car. So it has history. As it turns out, it was an easy fix and we're back on the road again. In fact, we probably ought to go and do a quick startup just to make sure the thing is happy as we believe it is. So, key in, waggle the floppy gear stick. There you go. It's alive. It lives. With a cup of tea. There you go. It's still sitting at 13.5 now with the new battery, shows the systems are all good. It's just an old battery. With the power off, it's still sitting at close to 13 volts, which is far more healthy. And of course, it's got the cranking amps in there. Now, I know someone is going to comment that, you know, I'm not storing my batteries correctly, I'm doing something wrong with the way I'm parking my cars, but the thing is, every time I park a car that's going to be parked for more than a couple of days and not turned on, I either put it onto the pigtails, which are now connected on every single car, this is the last one that didn't have a set, and put it onto a maintenance charger, or I disconnect the battery completely. So I do try to avoid doing that kind of damage to things, but when you've got 10 cars and batteries only last 4 years and they seem to be lasting less and less time, ultimately you will get through a lot of batteries with the number of cars I've got looking around. That's the way it goes. Anyway, the car is now back on the road again. We can drive the coupe. I can't believe I missed a track day for the sake of a dead battery, but I know it's unlikely me to do stuff last minute and not properly. But yeah, I'm ashamed. It's a shame I missed that track day because of just a dead battery, but had I started checking into it or realised I had a problem a day sooner, maybe I could have got that sorted out and gone on the track day after all. We'll book another one and we'll get this thing on a track soon, because that would be quite fun, wouldn't it? See this thing actually hurtling around some corners and hopefully not skidding off into the kitty litter. Right, join me again soon for something else, maybe the Rover, maybe the Mercedes. I was going to do some welding today, but it is unbelievably hot, so it's far more bearable to just mess around with electrics than it is to go and do some heavy duty welding and stuff. Right, see you again next time. Thank you for watching. Do the subscribey stuff because that matters, and yeah, buy yourself a Broken Rovers t-shirt because that's very appropriate to today. See you later.